The Jazz Singer is a film that I'd definitely seen before, but a very long time ago, and certainly I'd never reviewed it. So I took this as a good opportunity to give it another watch, and I'm glad I did, as it's generally a really good film. I say generally, there is one part of it that I think we definitely could have done without, and I will talk about that in a little bit. I'm sure you know what I mean if you've seen the film, but I will expand on that in a moment. And in general, though, it's a good film, and I'd quite happily see it again. It's also very important because it is said to be the first sound film with synchronized sound. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. The Jazz Singer was released in 1927. It's directed by Alan Crosland, written by Alfred A. Cohen, based on The Jazz Singer by Samson Raphaelson. And we have a cast including Al Jolson as our protagonist. And he plays a Jewish individual. And his family, his father in particular, wants him to follow his faith and do that as a career. But, well, Jakie wants to become a singer, and he's more interested in singing, and he wants to follow this for his career, hence the title. And I don't want to say too much about what happens, but it becomes a story of career versus family obligations and what he's ultimately going to decide to do. It gets, I guess, a little emotional at one point. I wouldn't say too emotional, it never gets too heavy, but I think there are some interesting discussions to be had here. I think it's very easy to see the character being torn in different directions, and I thought as a narrative it was well executed. It worked really, really well, and the singing is obviously fabulous. The musical aspect of this, the synchronized music, was very, very well done. I would have loved to experience this, and maybe somewhere does this, I don't know, but I'd love to have experienced it the way it was heard in the cinema, in the movie theatre at the time, played the way it would have been played, projected with the music playing the way it would have been played at the time. I would have loved to have experienced that and heard what it sounded like. But of course, it would be impossible to know what the emotions of that would be like because, well, we're so used to hearing films with synchronized sound. So I don't know. I think it would have been a pretty spectacular experience to be able to witness this as we're transitioning from the silent films to the talkies. I think it would have been quite something and definitely helped pave the way to the films that we know and love today. So I think that's quite spectacular. And the music itself, even taking out the synchronized aspect, is really great and really nice to listen to. The characters are well written, the performances are great. Visually, it's an appealing film. We have some really good camera work. The only thing that doesn't work, and yes, it's a product of its time. It's almost 100 years old, so that's always worth bearing in mind. But I absolutely could have done without Al Jolson blackfacing. We definitely didn't need that to happen. Obviously a product of its time, so it's not the film's fault necessarily, but watching it today, that's still quite uncomfortable and quite awkward. But that aside, The Jazz Singer is a pretty brilliant film. The narrative works really well. The emotions are pretty great. The characters are great. The performances are great. The music is obviously fantastic and just really great to listen to. As I said, if I ever get the chance to see this and hear this as it would have been played at the time on the big screen, I think that would be quite a fun experience. Maybe somewhere does that. Who knows? But either way, The Jazz Singer, however you watch it, is definitely worth watching. Historically, it's really significant. Definitely an interesting film. And needless to say, it's one that I think is certainly worth watching.